So here's what I thought we would do: is I'll just have you talk about different elements of aluminum.
This is the only one where you kind of have to know what happened in the previous book for it to really make a lot of sense.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, because it's not. It almost is a continuation of the. We reach a resolution in Silver. The bad guy gets caught. Okay, case closed. But then I kind of leave everybody in a bad place. You can catch up. I would have thought the same thing about profit motives.
Oh, for the logbook series?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I have a friend who picked that one up, didn't know there were other ones, and enjoyed it.
I mean, that's my experience, right?
Well, I started Steve, you got to get the earlier books to really know what's going on here.
I mean, I started at book 2, so, I was able to keep on without too much.
Well, book 2 was written as book 1. You do know that.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about the place setting for this book. This is book 4. We're probably going to not visit the series for a little bit. We're going to let it gestate for a while.
Right.
Tell me the mindset.
How about if I go back to the beginning of how this all came about?
Okay.
So this was planned as a 4-book series. There are 4 main schools of magic in my magic system: earth, air, fire, water. Each school is augmented or depends on a noble metal to cast spells or to make the spells more powerful. So earth is platinum, fire is gold, water is silver, and air is aluminum. Now, aluminum in this world is a precious metal because it was the most precious metal in the world, in this world, up until about 1890.
And aluminum does occur naturally.
Aluminum's plentiful.
Most people don't think that.
It's just bound up in bauxite. And it's very, very hard to extract without high voltage electricity. So once you have electricity, and a lot of it, it becomes relatively easy to extract. I mean, not much harder than extracting any other metal, like refining iron ore. So you can mass produce it. Back when it was all chemical extraction from bauxite, it was incredibly difficult, and pure aluminum was more valuable than platinum. So yeah, everybody's like, aluminum? Why aluminum?
Well, yeah,
and really, I made up the magic system so I can make it anything it wants to be. But the bottom line is that this was planned as a 4-book series. Each book a standalone, although they build on each other. Each one dealing with a particular school of this magical system. So the first one is very much bound up in earth magic. The second one is very much fire magic. Lots of fire there.
If you're a fan of fire.
The third book deals with water magic and some of the really ugly things you can do to people with water magic.
Yeah, that was pretty intense, actually. that scene that you described in that book. That was almost horror. I would almost call that horror.
That was. I mean, when you can drive all of the water in your body out through your pores.
That was horror.
That's pretty horrible.
That was some good horror you were writing right there.
The aluminum in air is a little less, tied to the case. I mean, there is, but it's not quite as direct as the other ones. The murder that occurs from an air spell, so there is that.
Now, normally you intertwine them like, fire in this case, air and aluminum, is that a relationship to the lightness of aluminum, or what or just
well, yes and no.
Wavehandium?
Yeah, Wavehandium. Yes, exactly.
So, okay, so we come into the fourth book and set the stage for everybody.
So at the end of book 3, the bad guy has been caught. You got to get a little bit into the politics of this world. So we have 3 main players in terms of international politics. You have the Commonwealth of Centralia, which is where my main characters live, and it's very much a constitutional monarchy. Think Britain in the 1800s, early Victorian in terms of the amount of power that the crown has. So yeah, there's a prime minister, there's ministries, but the crown has a great deal of power here. It is a monarchy, but they're limited very much by Parliament. There's things they can and can't do. But unlike, current Britain, for instance, where it's mostly just a figurehead kind of situation, the crown is very involved in politics. Because that's important.
It plays right into everything.
Plays right into everything, yeah. The Grey Havens are the elf homeland, and the elves divide kind of into 2 main camps. The traditionalists, who don't want anything to change. Think about it. If you essentially live forever, you're going to be hyper-conservative. You don't want change.
You don't want stuff changed.
And then there's the progressive elves who are embracing this whole new concept of magic as a industrial tool. Okay, we've now developed a mathematical model for their magic system. They can express it as quantum magic. Think, modern physics, except it just happens to be spell-based. So there's a very vibrant, expansive consumer economy going on in Centralia with all kinds of innovations and developments. And so you have progressive elves who want to be part of that. Now, if they want to be taken seriously as an international player, they kind of have to embrace that. Otherwise, they're going to get just totally left behind. So there's a lot of tension within the Havens.
There's a very, very much parallels, I feel, between this and the 19th century, the developments of the 19th century.
Yes, and there was some intent in that.
I figured.
So you have this conservative element, this progressive element, there's political battles, and the steward is kind of it's almost kind of a fascist or neo-feudal governance system. So you have, noble houses and a steward who really do control everything. No such thing as a parliament, There's a council, and it's got, probably several hundred of these high-power elves on it. But it's not anywhere near like a democracy.
And so talk about the third group.
The third group are the orcs. So several hundred years earlier, the orcs lost the Wars of the Races, and that brought in this entire new system of governance for Centralia, too. It went from an absolute monarchy to, a very constitutional one, to the point where the royal family is forbidden from being able to use magic.
Which plays in at some point.
If you are a mage and have ability, you must, resign your titles and not be any part of the royal family. That's very important in gold.
One of the titles, yep, yeah. In one of the books. Yep.
And so the orcs lost the war, but now they are concentrated in their own homeland. And so think of that as kind of Soviet Russia. They're a little bit backward, but they're a huge land power. And, very powerful just based on numbers. There are smaller players. There are the Ironlands, which is kind of a dwarf homeland, and they're kind of wedged in between there. They're very conservative, but they're kind of leaning toward the progressive side. And then there's the free states, which are, think of